finding the solutions. These three rules of analytical reading about terms, proposition, and arguments can be brought to a head in an eighth rule, which governs the last step in the interpretation of book content. More than that, it ties together the first stage of analytical reading, outlining the structure, second stage, interpreting the contents. The last step in your attempt to discover what a book is about was the discovery of the major problem that the author tried to solve in the course of his book. As you will recall, this was covered by rule number 4. Now, after you have come to terms with him and grasped these propositions and arguments, you should check what you have found by addressing yourself to some further questions. What of the problem that author tried to solve did he succeed in solving? In the course of solving this, did he raise any new ones? Of the problem that he failed to solve, old or new, which did author himself know he had failed on? A good writer, like a good reader, should know whether a problem has been solved or not. Although, of course, it's likely to cost the reader less pain to acknowledge the situation. This final step in interpreting interpretive reading is covered by rule number 8. Find out what the author solutions are. When you have applied this rule and the three that precede it in interpretive reading, you can feel reasonably sure that you have managed to understand the book. If you started with a book that was over your head, one, therefore, that was able to teach you something. You have come a long way. More than that, you're now able to complete your analytical reading of the book. The third and the last stage of the job will be relatively easy. You have been keeping your eyes and your mind open and your mouth shut. Up to this point, you've been following the author. From this point on, you are going to have a chance to argue with the author and express yourself. The second stage of analytical reading. We have now described the second stage of analytical reading. Another way to say this is that we have now set forth the material for answering second basic question that you must ask about a book, or indeed anything that you read. You will recall that the second question is what is being said in detail and how. Applying rules 5 through 8 clearly helps you to answer this question. When you have come to terms with the author, found his key proposition and arguments, and identified his solutions of the problem that he faced, you will know what he is saying in his book, and you are thus prepared to go and ask the final 2 basic questions about it. Since we have now completed another stage in the analytical reading process, let us, before, pause a moment to write out rule of this stage for review. Second stage of analytical reading are rules for finding what a book says. Come to terms with the author by interpreting his keywords. Grasp the author's leading proposition by dealing with his most important sentences. Know the author's arguments by finding them in or constructing them out of sequences of sentences. Determine which of his problems the author has solved and which he has not, and as to the reader, decide which author knew he failed to solve. The next chapter is criticizing a book fairly. I think we'll cover that tomorrow.